Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Premier Injuries Daily Update. Now, lots to talk about. Where shall we start? Well, we might as well go to the Champions League. And Tuesday nights, football has been a lot of chat and a lot of questions with regards to the fitness of Reece James. Unfortunately, he was forced off in Milan. That's a knee injury, the extent of which we don't know. Graham Potter said the player will be evaluated and assessed over the next 24 to 48 hours. Hopefully, nothing too serious, maybe just a bit of a heavy knock on that knee. He certainly didn't rule him out of this weekend's game, although, as we've seen from Graham Potter, he's not afraid to change things up. And of course, during this busy fixture period, it could be that Reece James, even if he is fit, takes a place on the bench. We've seen Cesar Azpilicueta, one of 7 changes against Wolves last time out, and with a quick turnaround and another full Premier League fixture scheduled in for next week. Like I say, I wouldn't be too surprised to see Reece James either on the bench or not involved in the squad at all. In other Chelsea players, Graham Potter eased concerns with regards to the withdrawal of Mason Mount. That was at half-time against AC. He had picked up a yellow card. He got himself 2 assists, but also it was just a precautionary or tactical measure just because he had played a lot of football in recent times. So he may be a player that is one of those who could start this weekend, certainly a player on my radar. Elsewhere, Manchester City, again, a few talking points from there. Erling Haaland, no minutes in their trip at Copenhagen. Pep Guardiola said that the striker was so tired following the win over Southampton. Hadn't been great in the build-up to that game. He was a little bit better on match day, but again, didn't want or didn't need to take any chances with his star striker. There were also minor issues with regards to Bernardo Silva and also Phil Foden. That meant that they had nothing more than a cameo role from the bench. Like I say, against FC Copenhagen, they've seen around about the last 14 to 15 minutes in that game. But with regards to their games this weekend against Liverpool at Anfield, all 3 should be absolutely fine. Now, ahead of Wednesday night's European fixtures, will start at Tottenham first. Lucas Moura will be included in Antonio Conte's Champions League squad tonight. However, he's only completed 3 training sessions with the squad, and therefore any minutes will come from the bench. He certainly won't be risked from the start. We've also seen Dejan Kulusevski, as everybody keeps on pointing out to me. Thanks for all of those comments. He has been back on the training pitches, but Antonio Conte certainly won't risk him in the squad on Wednesday evening. However, he will be included this weekend. But like I say, that's likely to be from the bench, given the fact that he's had so little time to work with the first team after recovering from that hamstring problem. Liverpool, few updates here. What we do know, Andy Robertson, he will be in the squad against Rangers, although Jurgen Klopp has more or less confirmed that, again, he won't be starting. See how he trains ahead of the City match, and that will determine whether he's going to be in contention for that starting berth or not. Tsimikas is the player likely to deputise. Elsewhere, better news than initially expected. First on Trent. Obviously, we've seen that challenge from Martinelli on his ankle. Didn't look too serious at the time. Indeed, he continued and played around about 10 minutes before being replaced at half-time. And that's turned out to be the case. A little bit of a mild lateral ankle sprain. Rough guideline around maybe 7 to 14 days. Certainly not ruled out of Sunday's game completely, flagged as a major doubt, but could return in maybe game week 12 or possibly game week 13. So again, not too serious with regards to that one. Joel Matip, that was one that went under the radar prior to Monday's weekend roundup. We know that again, that's a muscle problem. He has been blighted by those in recent times. That's probably going to keep him out for around about 3 weeks. Ibrahima Konate would be the player that I would expect to come in and sit along Virgil van Dijk. And also Luis Diaz left the stadium at the weekend on crutches with that knee problem. An update from the club suggests that the player will not need surgery. So that's the good news first and foremost. The bad news is it's probably going to keep him out certainly until after the World Cup. So maybe we're looking around 6 to 8 weeks. Now, looking at the mechanism, looking where the player was sort of touching, where guessing that it was probably some kind of involvement on that MCL, so medial collateral ligament strain, roundabout a grade 2 given that timeline, but thankfully it doesn't look as if there's any meniscal or certainly nothing too serious which would result in that surgical intervention. For Arsenal, they're playing in Europe on Thursday evening in the Europa League. On Wednesday, as part of that open training session, Gabriel Jesus was not there, and also Zinchenko. Gabriel Jesus, of course, took that nasty fall, bang to the head. Video footage appeared to show him unconscious, but we all know that any loss of consciousness on the field, the player is automatically withdrawn, and medical staff, both from seeing that visually firsthand and also reviewing video footage from inside the dugout, will determine that obviously that wasn't the case. Decision to stay on remains to be player-led. So that's why he was on the field to play. And I like to think that there's a duty of care there, so they left no stone unturned with regards to that, following that concussion protocol at those tests, and that's why he was cleared to continue. However, they have been very careful with the Brazilian this week. Maybe we can expect Eddie Nketiah to start on Thursday night with Gabriel Jesus back in that starting 11 this weekend. Zinchenko, he's another absentee. That's a recurring calf complaint. Doesn't look great for him at this moment in time. Maybe the biggest surprise last weekend was the starting of Tomiyasu at left back as opposed to Kieran Tierney. Keep your eyes open. If Tierney starts on Thursday night, then again, I think it might be Tomiyasu in the Premier League. For West Ham United, one slight doubt or one new addition to the Hammers treatment room, and that's Mikel Antonio. Been struggling with cold this week. He's missed a few sessions, so he will be a late decision from David Moyes. Elsewhere within the Hammers camp, Maxwell Cornet, I think that was a calf injury against Wolves. Again, nothing too serious, but he isn't expected to rejoin the group in training until the middle of next week. So that probably puts him out of the next three, definitely the next two. And also Nayef Aguerd, he has stepped up his recovery from ankle surgery in recent times. Coming along very nicely. David Moyes referred to him as a bit of an athletic specimen, saying he's a very fit lad, but he will have minutes with the under-23s first before being considered for the first team. Like I say, the health problems down at West Ham are relatively good. They do have lots of options in defence, so no need to take any risks. David Moyes also singled out Scamacca for his recent form, and he's had a great start coming, grabbing himself a couple of goals, along with Jared Bowen. Again, one or two slight issues, niggles ahead of that tie with Anderlecht, but nothing too serious and nothing that should really hold them back too much. And finally, Manchester United, two big talking points. One, Marcus Rashford took a bit of a knock late on in that game at Goodison Park. He's trained on Wednesday and he would be fine for Thursday. Anthony Martial forced off in and around that 30th minute mark, replaced by Cristiano Ronaldo. Unfortunately, he's out of that Europa League tie against Omnia at Old Trafford, and it remains to be seen whether he can recover his fitness in time for this weekend. So that's it for your daily roundup. Remember, hit the like, give us a subscribe, and if you have any comments, pop them in the box below, and we'll see you again tomorrow.